I'm in charge. The best way to bet the NFL is win totals. In this win projection series, you will get to see the logic behind Big Rye and the Fat Guys' win total projections and how you can win whatever contest you decide to enter for the 2018 NFL season. Fat Guy, what was the Browns' record in 2017?
Man, perfect season. We were celebrating in the street, 0-16. Fuck you, Lions. Nothing more needs to be said about that season. It was terribly coached. It wasn't terribly managed because we had so many draft picks, tons of cap space. Hugh Jackson just dropped the ball over and over again.
Speaking of coaches, it is Hugh Jackson. What is his record again so far in his 2 years with the
1-31, and he still has his job. Now that's some really smart thinking at the top.
Whoa. He won a preseason game or two.
Yeah, we went 4-0 in the preseason. Sweet.
Who cares? Hugh Jackson, we both hate him.
We don't hate him. He's the players seem to like him. He's a player's coach, but we think he's completely inept at his job. I don't know him as a man, but he is a very poor football coach, and I'd like to see how you would challenge me on that. This isn't Roe versus Wade. Hugh Jackson stinks.
As my friend Tuna would say, there's straight cabbage. Moving on to offensive coordinator, Todd Haley is a familiar name to the AFC North. He's coming from Pittsburgh. What do you think about him?
Well, I think this is interesting. Hugh Jackson has come out and said he's giving total autonomy to Todd Haley on offense.
What?
Wasn't the entire point of hiring Hugh Jackson to bring about the Browns offense, but then you're going to give that job to somebody else? That smells like ineptitude, and that's another reason Hugh Jackson is bad. But I actually like Todd Haley. I don't think he's a bad O coordinator, and the Steelers have had success on offense, let's be honest, the last few years. Say what you want about him, but he has been successful in the National Football League.
So going into half with no timeouts and about 10 seconds on the clock, do you see Todd Haley trying to run a
sneak up the gut? Yeah, that's a great idea. No, I don't.
At defensive coordinator, the Browns brought back Greg Williams, one of the only guys that got to stick around.
Yeah, maybe he had a bounty on somebody's head. See what I did there?
What kind of pictures do you think he has of Hugh Jackson hanging in his locker?
Or more Jimmy Haslam probably perusing with the FBI. I actually thought Greg Williams did a decent job last year. I have nothing bad to say about him. He doesn't quite run the defense how I would like it, but considering the shit he had to fucking work with last year, he was alright.
Alright, this is going to take a while. Let's go over all the notable player additions on the Cleveland Browns.
We're really sorry we have to take all this time because there really are a lot of player additions. We also like Cleveland somehow. I don't know what the attraction is from a couple Canadian guys, but here it is.
Number 1, quarterback Tyrod Taylor.
Tyrod Taylor, reasonable quarterback, came from the Ravens to the Bills to the Browns. He played well for the Browns, but he didn't really jive with management because he plays that style where, Randall Cunningham, he's just really running it, and he's no Russell Wilson. He's enough for the Browns to win a game or more. It's not really a good future piece. It's a good way to be mediocre is having a quarterback like Tyrod Taylor on a really bad team like the Browns.
Next up, at the number 1 overall pick that the Browns took, it was a surprise on the second to last day or so, quarterback Baker Mayfield.
This is my favorite way to talk about your franchise quarterback. He has intangibles. And I've been saying this the entire time. I'm not going to rip on all the rookies. I'm going to give him a chance. But this guy's 5'9". He's somehow taller than Big Rye, but barely. He had to roll out on every pass, but he was accurate. I'm going to just be hopeful with the Browns for once. Is that crazy? Yeah, it's fucking crazy.
I have to roll out with all these scripts. At running back, they added Carlos Hyde.
Hyde and Nick Chubb in the draft. Now I'm jacked on this. The only problem is they have Hugh Jackson coaching who doesn't know how to run the ball. Even when you spend all this money on interior linemen with Joel Bitonio, J.C. Treader, and Kevin Zeitler. I mean, Bitonio's a draft pick, but they have a good interior. And you don't run the ball? Well, I guess when you're losing every moment of every game, you don't really have an opportunity. So maybe Todd Haley is smart enough, which I imagine that he is, and he pounds the rock with these two.
Carlos Hyde is a good running back, and Nick Chubb, I actually yelled. He was my favorite running back in the draft. I am so happy the Browns have him. I'm looking forward to seeing him play with them next year. At wide receiver, they added Jarvis Landry, and in the draft, in the 4th round, a guy who slid, Antonio Callaway.
Well, Jarvis Landry, $16 million for a slot receiver, that seems reasonable. Oh, he had the most catches. Don't give me that type of shit. He's not worth that type of money. But the Browns kind of have a reasonable wide receiver crew out of nowhere. So we're going to see what happens. Antonio Callaway, like you said, a high upside guy. What do you do? Drugs, punch a woman, the same old thing. We'll see. We'll see how well he does with the Browns. But again, this is usually the factory of misery, so I ain't holding my breath.
At right tackle, they added Chris Hubbard from the Pittsburgh Steelers.
And offensive lineman Austin Corbett, who might be fighting for the left tackle position if they drafted in the second round. Chris Hubbard is reuniting with Todd Haley. We had a need at right tackle, and it was filled. So this is one of the signings I'm actually happy with. So Chris Hubbard, I hope it works out.
And on the defensive side of the ball, Greg Williams wanted new corners, and he got new corners. First-round pick Denzel Ward, as well as Demarius Randall from the Packers, TJ Carey from the Raiders, and EJ Gaines from Buffalo.
Yeah, EJ Gaines from Buffalo. I think he was part of the Sammy Watkins trade. Whatever, I'm not fact-checking it. Big deal. Denzel Ward went 4th overall. It was a surprise to everybody in the entire draft, so much so that the Bills got to rework how they did trades. I mean, they really could have got him later on, and that's the part that drives me nuts. They could have got him later. Everyone expected Chubb. Bradley Chubb, the defensive end from North Carolina State. Myself as well. We didn't get him somehow. We picked a corner. So let's just hope it works out. I mean, if he's an elite corner, I can live with it. But again, it's the factory of sadness. I'm not holding my breath. Demarius Randall was a good trade, though, for Deshaun Kaiser. Because with the first overall pick and picking up Tyrod Taylor, they were never going to play Deshaun Kaiser or really give him a good look. Especially because it's a changing of the guard almost. It's an old regime pick. So I didn't mind that. TJ Carey, he's had some decent games in Oakland. EJ Gaines can play. I mean, this is all an upgrade at corner, to be perfectly honest. It's revamped the secondary. But again, it's the Browns, so how excited can you be?
Now, for notable player subtractions at quarterback, they let go of Deshaun Kaiser after 1 year, and as well as Cody Kessler.
Yeah, they let go of both those guys. Somehow they got something back for both those guys. I'm not a big fan of this management. I actually like the old one, Sashi Brown, because he liked to take picks and money. However, I'm going to give Dorsey credit because he managed to get a 7th-round pick for Cody Kessler, and he managed to get Demarius Randall for Deshaun Kaiser. So I'm going to say this is a win for the Browns.
At running back, they let Isaiah Crowell walk.
Yeah, they did. I really like Isaiah Crowell. We made a video about him that was actually quite popular about how we liked him in fantasy. It didn't work out, not because it couldn't have, but because Hugh Jackson doesn't know what he's doing. Isaiah Crowell, I wish you well in New York.
At left tackle, the biggest subtraction of this team's entirety is Joe Thomas.
Well, this team's entire, and since his team came back, he's the only gold star really they have. He's my favorite player. If you saw the beat-up Joe Thomas jersey I'm wearing right now, you'd understand why. It's been, like a month and a half me wearing this fucking thing. I love Joe Thomas, but could you leave? Just stay one more year, then we'd have a complete offensive line. One more year.
At nose tackle, they traded away Danny Shelton to the Patriots.
I didn't get this one. Danny Shelton, not the greatest, but for the snaps he plays, he can be a significant force for the most part. He's not going to get after the quarterback, but he takes up so much space. And I just like those Polynesian guys. They're just tough as shit.
And at cornerback, they lost veteran Jason McCourty.
I'm cool with this. They added 4 other corners that are younger and better, so I'm definitely down with this move.
All right, let's go over the roster quickly. So at quarterback, it's Tyrod Taylor, possibly Baker Mayfield later on in the year, and maybe even Drew Stanton.
It's the Browns. That jersey with all the names on it of all the quarterbacks that have happened, you might as well just add 3 to them right now. That's probably what's going to happen. A bunch of small guys going to get killed because Hugh Jackson doesn't know how to set up a blocking scheme. I don't mind them, but again, the basement is low.
At running back, we've already talked about Carlos Hyde and Nick Chubb, but the guy who played the best last year is Duke Johnson, and he made a big turnaround after his first 2 years were very poor.
Yeah, Duke Johnson looked great. This running back crew all of a sudden looks really good. Hyde can play. Chubb can play, I think. Chubb's... see, I'm bending it now my own rules. I really think this rookie running back, he's going to be good. Maybe he's not as good as Barkley, but we kind of think he might be better. It's a possibility. I mean, he was setting records before his knee injury at Georgia, so we like this grouping. This is a really great strength for the Browns.
At wide receiver, it always hinges on if Josh Gordon's going to play and how he's going to play.
Yeah, I know. Guy likes smoking weed, big deal. So does the rest of America. Problem is, though, it's a big deal for the NFL. So if he doesn't get to play, it'll really hurt this grouping. Because in the few games he played last year, I was surprised at how good he was. He looked really decent on a really bad team.
They also have Corey Coleman, Jarvis Landry, Rashard Higgins, Ricardo Lewis, Jeff Janis. It's a big shit mix after.
Yeah, it's a lot of names. Jarvis Landry, I mean, he should be decent. I mean, come on. But I mean, not for $16 million. Corey Coleman has never looked good enough for me to tip my hat to him. I mean, maybe with this grouping, he can kind of hide in the weeds and get more attention. But I'm going to have to see. I'm not going to make assumptions first.
Hopefully he can make that third-year leap just like Duke Johnson did last year.
I agree.
Moving on to the O-line, at left tackle right now, they have Sean Coleman penciled in, and I'm going to highlight penciled. At left guard, Joel Bitonio, J.C. Treader, Kevin Zeitler, and at right tackle, Chris Hubbard.
I like this grouping. If Joe Thomas could be a part of it, this would be one of the premier lines in the entire NFL. But that left tackle spot is just such a question mark. Will Austin Corbett win? Will Sean Coleman win? Unless Austin Corbett is a really positive surprise, they're going to probably struggle at the left tackle position. So that kind of hinges on that. The interior line is awesome. I mean, Zeitler and Bitonio are badass. Treader is, I'd say, above average to average, which is good enough for me with those two guys bookending you. And Hubbard should be able to play at an average to above average level. But that left tackle position is just a huge question mark.
At tight end, they have David Njoku as well as Seth DeVal.
And Njoku.
And they also brought in Darren Fells.
It's an average group, but tight ends rarely have decent rookie seasons. Evan Ingram for the Giants had an incredible one. And I'm going to say David Njoku wasn't that bad for the Browns. I'm kind of hoping he can compound on that success and play at a high level this year.
Now moving on to the defensive side of the ball. Defense is always going to be highlighted by Myles Garrett, the number 1 overall pick last year, as well as Trevin Coley, Larry Ogunjobi, Emmanuel Ogba, Chris Smith, who they added from the Bengals, Carl Nassib, Caleb Brantley, Javen Medier.
These are also a lot of questionable guys. Of course, Myles Garrett, first play of his career is a sack against Josh McCown, I believe, from the Jets. Garrett kind of gone after it. He wasn't bad. I mean, there are things that are left to be desired, but it's your rookie season. He also had that stupid ankle injury. I'm tired of Browns players getting hurt right before their careers even start. But he did have somewhat of a decent year, so I hope he expands on that. A lot of these guys, though, they have upsides. I'm just not sure if they're going to be able to pull it together because coaching is such a question mark. Mind you, it looks like Hugh Jackson has a complete hands-off approach on defense and on offense, so maybe that'll serve the Browns well on the defensive line this year.
And at linebacker, it's highlighted by Jamie Collins and Christian Kirksey, as well as guys like Joe Schobert, Nate Orchard, Tank Carter, James Burgess. Talking about a guy who's barely going to play. Jamie Collins is supposed to be the star. He was unbelievable for New England. But you're going to play a little bit differently when you have Bill Belichick as your coach, as opposed to Hugh Jackson. I mean, really ripping on Hugh Jackson, but 1-31 ain't going to cut it. So I hope Jamie Collins can play his New England form. Again, I'm not holding my breath, though. At corner, they added Denzel Ward, the 4th overall pick, who has already got injured in his first practice.
Yeah, hip injury. Good one.
TJ Carey was added. Brian Bodie Calhoun is returning, as well as EJ Gaines, the new addition from Buffalo.
Jabril Peppers at safety, and Demarius Randall at safety.
As well as Derek Kindred.
I mean, these are all names, and they all are supposed to have good upside, but I'm really not sure. There's a lot of inexperience in this group, so it's going to be... Inexperienced secondaries get burned by double moves and things of that nature all the time. So on paper, this looks like it's going to be a good group in the future. I'm just not confident it's going to be a good group now.
And there still is a ton of potential with Justin Gilt. Oh, never mind.
Oh, right, yeah, out of the league.
So where's the strength of this roster, fat guy?
Running back is definitely the best positional grouping. The wide receivers, they have names. That's something. The offensive line from the left guard onwards is decent. But that question mark at left tackle. Pass rushing shouldn't be a problem for the Browns, which is always a strong thing. So I'm going to say on defense, the pass rush. On offense, the running backs, to a degree the wide receivers, and the offensive line, left guard onwards.
So for a team grade, where do we have them going into 2018?
Like the salty liquid you like to gargle, a C.
It's a C- for the team grade.
Oh, yeah, well, it's the Browns. You can add a negative to anything.
Will Big Ryan the Fat Guy take the over, under, or is this a no bet? Right now we have them at 6.9 wins. Isn't that ironic? And their over-under currently is 4.5. That's a 2.4 win difference. Fat Guy, are we crazy enough to bet this over, or is this a no bet?
Well, that's why you're asking me, because usually you just go by the numbers and you go, hey, let's bet the Browns. We have a huge edge. Again, it's the Browns, and we like the Browns, so could we be overzealous? I'm just going to go and play it safe and say maybe we are. Maybe we're crazy. I do think the Browns are probably going to win 6 games. I mean, they're garbage, but they are probably going to win 6 games. But the biggest drawback on the Browns, like I said, is Hugh Jackson managing a game is just a nightmare. However, though, Todd Haley's running the plays, so I really don't know what to expect. So let's just be conservative for the sakes, because we do like gambling and we do like making our followers money. Shout out to you, DK. So let's just make this a no bet. It's the Cleveland Browns. They stink.
And to help with that no bet, at 4.5 games, it's minus 170 to bet the over. So you lose a lot of juice there. There's way better opportunities. Pass this one up. Cheer on the Browns. Hit the like button if you agree with Big Ryan the Fat Guy. Give us a comment below if you think we're stupid or if you want to guess the Fat Guy's weight. Subscribe for more non sequiturs and NFL projections. Go Browns.